In a land called Uz in the ancient East, there lived a man named Job. He was the greatest man among all the peoples of that region, a man of staggering wealth, with 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and a vast household. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and his name was spoken with reverence from one end of the land to the other. But Job was not merely rich, he was righteous. He feared God, turned from evil, and rose early each morning to offer sacrifices on behalf of his children, just in case one of them had sinned in their hearts. By every measure known to the ancient world, Job was blessed beyond reckoning. But far above the affairs of men, a scene unfolded that Job would never see. In the courts of heaven, the angels presented themselves before God, and among them came one called the adversary, Satan. God himself drew attention to Job. "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him, blameless and upright." But Satan issued a cold challenge. "Does Job fear God for nothing? Strip away his blessings, and he will curse you to your face." And so, with divine permission, the test began. The disasters came, not one by one, but all at once. Wave after wave of devastation, crashing over a single afternoon. Raiders swept in and seized his oxen and donkeys. Fire fell from the sky and consumed his sheep. Chaldean warbands carried off his camels. And then, the worst. A great wind struck the house where all 10 of his children were feasting. The roof collapsed, every one of them perished. Job tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell to the ground. But he did not curse God. Instead, he spoke words that have echoed through the centuries. "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Satan was not satisfied. He returned to the heavenly court and pressed further. "A man will give everything he has for his own life. Strike his body, and he will surely curse you." And so Job was struck with painful, festering sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. He sat among the ashes, scraping his wounds with broken pottery. Even his wife, overcome with anguish, told him to curse God and die. But Job refused. "Shall we accept good from God," he said, "and not trouble?" When 3 of Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, heard of his suffering, they traveled from distant lands to comfort him. And when they saw him, they barely recognized him. For 7 days, they sat with him in silence. But when the silence broke, so did their compassion. One by one, each friend insisted that Job must have sinned. "Surely," they argued, "God does not punish the innocent. The world is governed by moral order. The righteous prosper, and the wicked suffer. Job's ruin, therefore, could only mean one thing: hidden guilt." Their theology was neat, logical, and entirely wrong. Job pushed back with the full force of his anguish. He knew his own heart. He had not committed the sins they accused him of. He called out not only to his friends, but to God himself, demanding an audience, pleading for an explanation. "Why do you hide your face?" he cried. "Write down the charges against me." Job did not abandon his faith, but he refused to abandon his integrity either. He stood in the impossible space between trusting God and not understanding him, and he would not be moved from it. Then a younger man spoke. Elihu had waited, out of respect for his elders, but he could contain himself no longer. He rebuked Job's friends for failing to answer him, and he rebuked Job for justifying himself at God's expense. Elihu argued that suffering could be more than punishment. It could be instruction. God might use pain not to condemn, but to refine, to open the ears of men and turn them back from the edge of destruction. His words carried a different weight, a sense that something larger was coming. And then God answered, not from a temple, not from silence, from a whirlwind. The voice of the Almighty thundered across the ash heap, and the questions he asked were not answers at all. They were an avalanche of wonder. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Who marked off its dimensions? Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? Have you ever given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place? On and on the questions came about stars, storms, the wild ox, the warhorse, the great sea creatures, each one peeling back another layer of the universe that Job had never touched, never commanded, never understood. God did not explain the suffering. He revealed himself. Job's response was not argument, it was surrender, but not the surrender of defeat. It was the surrender of a man who had finally seen something greater than his pain. My ears had heard of you, Job whispered, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I repent in dust and ashes. And God, having vindicated Job over his friends, restored everything that had been taken. Twice over, 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 10 new children. Job lived another 140 years and saw 4 generations of his descendants. But the book of Job does not end with a simple moral. It does not say that suffering always leads to reward, or that enough faith guarantees a happy ending. What it says is far more profound and far more unsettling. Sometimes the righteous suffer, and no human theology can fully explain why. The mystery remains. But in the midst of that mystery, God is not absent. He speaks, he shows up. And for Job, that was enough. Not answers, but presence. Not explanation, but encounter. And perhaps that is the deepest truth the book of Job offers to every generation that wrestles with the darkness. That faith is not the absence of questions, but the courage to trust the one who stands beyond them. Thank you so much for watching. If this video spoke to you, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share it with someone who needs to hear this story. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the book of Job. Until next time, God bless.